I am not. There we go. Good evening. I would like to call to order the March 4th, 2019 Lake Washington School Board meeting. So to begin, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the March 4th agenda.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Carlson that we approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So we will then begin with our host school tonight. So Dr. Stephen, if you could do the honors.
Yes, I am so happy to welcome Juanita Elementary here with us tonight. I recently visited Juanita Elementary. Can I show off my poster? Principal Dana Stairs is here with her colleagues that she can certainly introduce when she comes to the podium in just a minute. But they have a wall of fitness, and all of their staff display what their areas of fitness are, and I was invited to join the wall. You all have something at your place if you would like to participate. They would be happy to put any of us on the wall of fitness. But it was one of just many things that Dana will tell you about tonight. Really fun visit and lots of volunteers there that day, and great to just see kind of what's going on at Juanita Elementary. So we'll start with a little view with our video, and then we'll ask Dana to come up and share some information.
Juanita Elementary School is located in North Kirkland. We are a close-knit community with 400 students preschool through 5th grade.
Over the jaguars, the jungle jaguars, we hear the beat, the jungle beat.
One aspect of Juanita Elementary that makes us really unique.
We're from Juanita L, we show Pride.
We have a wonderful, rich, diverse community here with a lot of different languages, 32 different languages spoken.
You and your partner may pass or teach.
Teachers in my building really take a different approach.
We put 3 candies in each bag.
In communicating the learning targets to students and really helping them understand what is it that we're learning, what is the objective, and really breaking down language and content strategies and using that target to help students understand what's going on.
Every one of those is going to be called a present.
Giving them the opportunity to dialogue and talk about it.
Everyone is going to have like a different article. How is that going to work?
Rather than just sitting and listening, they're talking about it, they're discussing it, they're taking a concept and manipulating it and working with it.
So we will adhere to the same rules that they're having. If you can promise you keep your container closed.
Everybody could choose out of a bunch of articles that they wanted to do.
Juanita Elementary is actually one of the oldest schools in Lake Washington School District. This is our 142nd year that we've been around. This building opened in 2005, and it doesn't look that old. It's 14 years old right now, and it's a gorgeous facility and really meets the needs of the students, and the way that it's set up really allows us to be flexible with learning and use different spaces in the building.
And by putting an E there, that becomes
Shine!
shine. Very good.
One aspect of Juanita Elementary that makes us really unique is the community engagement, and a lot of our volunteers that come in and work with students are former teachers, former parents, and they keep coming back.
Oh, you got both sides? Yeah, okay.
Watchdog program is a program that we get with volunteers. They come and help in the classroom. They help with the children out at recess. Dads can volunteer in the morning or in the afternoon or all day, which is good because some dads have to work, but we trying to motivate dads to come anytime they can because it's an awesome program. We instill pride, instill confidence, instill self-respect into the kids.
So we actually started teaching kids about the pride characteristics of problem-solving, respect, integrity, diligence, and empathy. This year, our teachers created the characteristics, and the theme goes along with our Jaguar mascot. It's a lot of fun to let kids have some ownership and take responsibility in being part of that. And it's been a really great way to see teachers integrate those characteristics into their lessons and what they're doing every day.
Our main ants are killers.
One of our main focuses right now is reading, and we've been doing a lot of different things trying to bring in different aspects and strategies.
These 2 words.
Yeah, you got it from that. Good job.
And one of the pieces that has begun to help us make some progress is really using culturally responsive teaching strategies.
And I'm reading for half an hour and I'm putting my screen away.
One of the things I'm most proud of is just how hard the students and staff work.
So I'm gonna read like 30 minutes and then read back at night, then go outside for about 3 hours.
I like it.
I've really been impressed with the collaboration and how everyone just comes together as a community.
Composting and recycling. Why would we do those things in our schools?
It's better for the environment.
What does compost do?
It's mostly like food and stuff that you put in the ground later, and then it turns into soil, and then the soil makes the plants.
Yeah, and how do they know what's recycling and what's trash?
Well, recycle is like paper and stuff.
Oh, we're the Jaguars, the jungle Jaguars. You hear the beat, the jungle beat.
While we're getting that set up, make sure you notice all of the artwork that they brought behind us. They've redecorated the set, but I think many of us are loving the jaguar faces there behind you. I keep looking at them and I see a different one every time I look at them, so
I
thank
think you
for
can make
bringing
money
those.
with those. You could auction them off.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're pretty neat.
Good evening. My name is Dana Stairs, and this is my 9th year as principal of Juanita Elementary. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Stavum and the school board for inviting me up tonight to share some of the wonderful things that we're doing at Juanita. And we're just excited to have this opportunity to host this evening. In developing our mission and vision, we closely examined our beliefs about students and learning, and we kept coming back to commonalities that we had with the district mission and vision. And as a result, we wrote ones that are very close to that of the district, and we believe that the work of getting students future ready actually begins in preschool. One of the bulletin boards that we put up in the hallways this year displays high school graduation photos of staff members and prompts students to see themselves in the mirror as a graduate. We want every single student to make plans to graduate from the moment they enter our school system. We also want them to help them grow to be responsible, contributing members of our diverse society. So we intentionally give students opportunities to be leaders. We empower them to look for ways to contribute to their school and to the community. A little bit about our students. And our school, we're one of the smallest schools in Lake Washington with only 413 students. But because we are small, we have the ability to get to know every student by name and get to make personal connections and relationships with their families. As one of 7 schools in the district that have preschool students, we're happy to be able to participate in the growth of children in their earliest years of education. And we have a really diverse student body, one which benefits our entire school community by enriching their educational experience. And as a school, we're focused on culturally responsive teaching and providing an equitable education for all students. A little bit more about our demographics. 15% of our students participate in our English language learner program. And by talking and listening to people different than ourselves, we expand our understanding. The number of students we have receiving free and reduced lunch varies from year to year, but typically ranges between 20 and 30%. And currently, 18% of our students qualify for special education services and receive support through a variety of models, including both push-in and pull-out service. Our English language learner students across the state take the ELPA 21 to determine their progress in mastering the English language. We are proud to say that we exit students at a high rate. As you can see from the data, students from Juanita L are making progress in learning English faster than the average ELL student in the district and in the state. Our staff has targeted professional development around supporting students who are learning the English language. We are piloting a co-teaching approach, having 2 teachers in the classroom teaching content and using SIOP strategies. And our librarian is supporting teachers in acquiring multicultural books specific to individual students' home languages and cultures. We've made a concerted effort to involve parents of ELL students through community outreach, use of interpreters, personal invitations, and communication translated in their home language. And this Thursday, we're inviting families in for culture and music night to give them an opportunity to share and celebrate the unique features of their countries and cultures. This is a graph that represents student achievement on DIBELS over the last 4 years. Last year, 82% of kindergarten through 2nd grade students were at standard, which is a slight increase from 2017. Teachers collaborate to analyze the data and plan for future interventions. They discuss specific instructional strategies to help the students make progress. They also work together to plan for students who are already above standard and need to be challenged. Students in grades 3 through 5, overall percentage was 75% meeting or exceeding standard in ELA, with our special education and ELL students struggling the most of the group. To address our need for growth, we have been trying a new approach through MTSS. MTSS is multi-tiered systems of supports and is a systemic way of looking at the big picture and analyzing all the data points, including data from academics, discipline, attendance, and student survey data, and then putting together supports and systems to respond to grade level needs and each individual child's unique needs. As part of our MTSS work, we have had literacy experts from CORE come in and train our teachers. All teachers are receiving explicit training in the best practices in teaching reading, which includes a learning workshop as well as side-by-side coaching on literary instruction using Wonders. Also, as part of our MTSS work, all K2 students have access to Lexia this year. Lexia is an online supplement to their reading program, which provides specific adaptive supports to each student at their own level. Math is also an area that we are focused on increasing student achievement. One way that we strive to meet the needs of all students is through differentiation. Students are challenged at and above their level of proficiency. With the Common Core State Standards, students are asked to analyze and synthesize information in multi-step problems and then be able to explain their mathematical thinking. Students prepare for rigorous mathematical thinking by learning a variety of strategies they can use to problem solve. One way they do this is by using interactive math games and math manipulatives to develop deeper understanding of the concepts behind the algorithms. We are currently a pilot school for an adaptive online math program called Dreambox that allows students to achieve mastery of the Common Core State Standards at their own pace and then push them forward into the next level as each individual student is ready. As we dive into the data further, we see that there is an achievement gap for our students in special education and especially those who are Hispanic or Latino. The number of Hispanic students at Juanita L has increased in recent years, with a higher number of students coming in without any previous exposure to the English language. To address this achievement gap, we are focusing on equity to help break down the barriers that they are faced with. To meet the needs of every student, we have been implementing culturally responsive teaching. We are improving student achievement by getting to know students better and utilizing culturally relevant teaching strategies. Lake Washington School District has made equity a priority and given us the opportunity to engage in dialogue about race. At the building level, we have a dedicated equity team and are currently doing a book study on courageous conversations about race. We have had professional development for the last 3 years as a staff discussing racism, white privilege, and examining our own implicit biases. In an effort to share this learning with the community, we are offering a parent education night next month for talking with children about race. We will open the invitation to other parents in our community. By focusing on equity and culturally responsive teaching strategies, we are better able to meet the needs of all of our students. At this time, I would like to introduce Edith Bruman, the Associate Principal, to talk about our science scores and special programs.
Last year was the first year our 5th grade students were tested with the next generation science standards, and 75% met or exceeded standard. Historically, our students have scored well in science. We attribute our success in science to the hands-on learning opportunities our students receive. As a staff, we've spent time having vertical grade level planning sessions on how to guide students through the inquiry process of doing science experiments from kindergarten through 5th grade. The other factor that has contributed to the success in science is outdoor education. In 5th grade, our students get an opportunity to receive outdoor education by attending a 4-day, 3-night camp focused on learning about science in the wilderness. Students explore natural ecosystems and learn how to work together in teams to support one another and the environment. Juanita Elementary empowers students through a variety of opportunities that promote student leadership and community, such as student council and natural helpers. Beyond planning Spirit Weeks, our student council serves as a platform for student voice. It gives them an opportunity to give input on how to make improvements in our school. Natural helpers, organized by our school counselor, provide students a leadership opportunity on the playground by assisting peers with small problems using the tools that they've learned. Our school's choir is the only one in Washington State that has performed the national anthem for the Seattle Mariners 7 years in a row. This is a great community event where hundreds of family members and friends come out to support our students while they perform. Students, especially in those in 3rd and 4th grade, have taken an active role in saving our environment by dedicating some of their time to recycling and composting awareness. We are proud partners with the King County Green Schools program and were recently recognized with a certificate and banner as a Level 1 Green School. In addition to our high rate of volunteerism, PTA support, and the Watchdog program, we have one of the highest Lynx Lunch Buddy volunteer rates in the whole district. This is a one-on-one mentor program that provides students social emotional support once a week. The Juanita Schools Foundation is a nonprofit organization that provides students with opportunities that they may not otherwise have. As you see, this is just a snapshot of the programs provided. We have a variety of after-school enrichment programs that benefit our students as the whole child, keeping in mind health, fitness, leadership, and academic achievement. Juanita Schools Foundation also provides funding for our outdoor arboretum, scholarships for students, and other special programs. In the fall, elementary students across the district took a social emotional survey called Panorama. 77% of our students at Juanita Elementary reported that they get a lot of support from the adults at school. For the past 4 years, we have used a portion of our professional learning time to bring in a trainer on positive discipline. Through this, our whole staff has shifted how we respond when students are struggling with behaviors. Our staff works very hard to connect with every student, to build a relationship, and to provide the academic and emotional support that each child needs. To create a positive school culture, we have been focusing on social emotional learning at Juanita for several years, providing instruction in Second Step, Kelso's Choices, and small group social support from our counselor to teach friendship skills, conflict resolution, and managing emotions. We have had a school-wide focus on teaching empathy, and the survey data reflected that 90% of our students care about each other's feelings. One reason we think students are showing so much empathy is our efforts in teaching them pride characteristics. At this time, I would like to invite Aurora Capone, our 3rd grade teacher, and Tim Triplett, our school librarian, to tell you a little bit more about pride.
A little over a year ago, our staff came together to brainstorm ideas about how to create a framework for teaching character education to our students that would promote our school's values of inclusion and community and create a common language around social and emotional skills. We also wanted to connect this concept to our school's mission and vision of having each student become a contributing member of our diverse society. After a process of reviewing existing character education models, the staff decided to create our framework internally. So we began by discussing which attributes we want our students to embody. The final outcome was our Jaguar Pride framework, consisting of the 5 character traits of problem solving, respect, integrity, diligence, and empathy. Because we have an existing school mascot, Jessie the Jaguar, we decided to make the traits more memorable and student-centered by giving Jessie 5 Jaguar cubs, 1 for each of the character traits. During the course of the school year, we are asking the student body to help name each of the cubs and to connect the names with the same letter as the trait. For example, Pete, the problem-solving cub, and Rosa, the respectful cub.
The Pride characteristics have helped form a foundation of unity throughout our school. Students are truly taking on and embodying each of these characteristics. We have intentionally taught the characteristics and embed them in all content areas. Parents have even commented on how impressed they are that the students are taking this language home with them and using words like diligence and integrity. One parent was thrilled to see their child solve a sibling dispute at home by using problem-solving skills learned here at school. For myself, this year was the first year my students took action on their own accord to try to be problem solvers to help our southern resident killer whales. Through diligence and a whole lot of empathy, they researched, organized, and are having a whale of a bake sale to raise funds for conservation canines, whose efforts help the orca researchers. In addition, our school celebrates the Jaguar Pride that every student shows each and every day during our Jaguar Jamboree assemblies. Each assembly highlights one of the Pride characteristics through a student video or a guest speaker. For example, a police officer for integrity and a former NFL player for diligence. Before the Jamboree concludes, each grade level honors 5 students that have shown pride throughout the school. The Juanita Schools Foundation has generously donated Pride t-shirts for all of our students. This is one more way our school community has stepped up to help all students feel connected and proud to be a Juanita Jaguar. At Juanita, we have a new school motto: Juanita Jaguars stand with pride. And we are so excited to continue our Pride work through the rest of this school year and into future school years to come, because we have definitely seen a positive effect that Pride has had in our students.
So as a result of our focus on Pride characteristics and teaching students social and emotional skills, we have seen a significant improvement in behavior. Last year, from September through March, we had an average of 21 office-level discipline incidents each month. This year, the monthly average is 5, which is a significant drop in behaviors. We have also had an increase in attendance. Our daily attendance has increased from 96 to 99%. Students are feeling more connected to our school community and are proud to be Juanita Jaguars. I'd like to just say thank you to all the amazing work that the students and parents and staff are doing. Thank you for allowing us to talk to you about it this evening. We're proud of where we're at, and we're hoping to continue to make progress as we move forward. And on behalf of Juanita Elementary, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Stavum and the school board for allowing us to present tonight. Thank you.
I wanted to say thank you to the group for this. Since I would have been this child, how many kids have you got who have informed you that Jaguars don't have prides? They're a solitary animal you never see in groups.
We went with the
Killjoy.
jamboree. Jaguars have a jamboree for the assembly.
Anyway,
Leave it to a scientist to really ruin a good thing, huh?
it's a great concept, except they don't happen. So.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was fabulous. Exciting, and what you've done with Pride and being able to really establish a solid school climate, and appreciate all that work, because it's not only the academics, but it is the well-being and the feeling that our kids have of safety and connectedness. So that's fabulous, the work that you're doing there. So great job. So thank you very much for coming. and appreciate all your time and effort and look forward to seeing even more things coming out of Juanita Elementary going forward. Do you have anything?
No, I just think it shows it's outstanding culture when they can get the Jaguars to come together in a pride. I mean, that's just indicative of the work. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And so we do have 2 items of recognition this evening. We have 2 proclamations. One is for the education support professionals and one for Schoolbury Library Month. So I'm going to pass it over to Director Stewart for the Education Support Professionals Week.
This one's very near and dear to my heart. I've seen some great paras in the years that my boys were in school here, one of which ended up getting the National Para of the Year award about 5 years ago. Whereas education support professionals are involved in nearly every aspect of education, including maintaining school buildings and grounds, providing secretarial and clerical assistance, preparing and serving meals, providing safe transportation, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, assisting in the classroom, providing a secure and healthy environment, and many other specialized services. And whereas education support professionals are instrumental in fulfilling the state's responsibility to educate all students. And whereas these dedicated individuals deserve recognition and thanks for the outstanding work they are doing for the students enrolled in Lake Washington School District. And whereas by supporting the learning environment, education support professionals are crucial partners with teachers, parents, administrators, and school boards in public schools. And whereas there are approximately 1,280 classified school employees working with and helping children in Lake Washington School District. Therefore, the Board of Directors do hereby proclaim March 11 through 15, 2019 as Education Support Professionals Week in Lake Washington School District. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. And so now we will have Director LaLiberty do the proclamation for our School Library Month.
All right. Whereas school libraries provide materials for teachers and students that will encourage growth and knowledge, and whereas the school library media specialist role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the library program is an integral part of the instructional program of the school, and whereas school libraries provide materials to meet individuals' needs, varied interests, abilities, socioeconomic backgrounds, and maturity levels of the students served. And whereas school libraries provide materials that reflect the ideas and beliefs of religious, social, political, historical, and ethnic groups and their contributions to the American and world heritage and culture. And whereas the school library contributes to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education. Therefore, we, the members of the Lake Washington School District Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 as School Library Month.
Well, thank you. Excellent. So as you know, with those support, all that extra support for our students just make, yet again, a strong environment, and our kids do really well. So thank you very much for all of that. With that, knowing that many of you might have things you have to go to work tomorrow, I would go ahead and say we are moving to the rest of our agenda, of the consent agenda, and if you would like to leave, that's okay. Otherwise, we will continue. Just sometimes want to give you the reasons. So now we will move to public comment. We did not have anybody sign up. Is there anybody in the audience who was interested in doing a public comment that did not get the chance to sign up? Okay, not seeing any hands. With that, we will move to the consent agenda. And with that, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Madam Chair, may I recommend that we excuse our teachers who are in the audience?
I thought I had, and if they would, I think they would like to, if you'd like to stay, you can, or you may excuse, but we do have the community engagement forum coming up and that information, so that might be interesting, so. And so we do have a motion on the table. It has been moved by Director Carlson and seconded by Director LaLiberty that we approve the consent agenda. Dr. Staben, would you pull the board?
I will. Cassandra? Yes. Eric?
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes.
Mark?
Yep.
Siri?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then could you please summarize the donations for us?
I would, and actually I'm going to go through them tonight because we have a summary sheet that's waiting to be pulled up, so I think it'll be faster if I just go through these. So from Audubon PTSA, $2,804.41. Alexander Graham Bell PTSA, $7,500. Frost PTSA, $1,830. Juanita Elementary, $3,794.88. McCullough PTSA, $7,548.47. Redmond L, PTSA, $1,728.65. Sandberg's, $19,709.91. Smith, PTSA, $40,808.93. Mark Twain, PTSA, $3,700. Wilder Elementary, PTSA, $7,406. Environmental and Adventure School PTO, $16,950. Evergreen Middle School PTSA, $7,015.83. Redmond Middle PTSA, $1,560. Eastlake High School PTSA, $5,500. Juanita Rebels Booster Club, $3,208. Juanita High School PTSA, $4,548.21. First Washington to Lake Washington High School, $1,796.85. And Lake Washington High School PTSA, $1,210 for a very grand total of $138,620.14 of very generous donations by our community and our area business.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for that support and, again, supporting the enrichment and enhancement of all our students. And with that, we will move on to our non-consent agenda. And the first item this evening is, which we're all very excited to be hearing, is the findings and recommendations of the community engagement forums that have taken place over the month of January and February. So with that, Dr. Stephen, I will pass it to you.
And Mr. Van Orden, do you want to come get my slides up while I talk just a little bit? This is an exciting night. This is a culmination of 4 really different nights that we have gathered people together. And so I'm going to go through just some very brief slides before we have our folks come up part of this process. And I'll let you find which one it is. One of the things that I want to say is this process really represents the best thinking of all of the people who are important to our school district. We had parents, we had community members, we had staff members, and we had students. And so when we hear our recommendations tonight, I think it's important for people to know that these are really the voices of the people who are part of those groups coming through as recommendations. Some things that you'll hear tonight might lead us toward a continuation of things that are already happening in our district. Some of it might lead us toward some new ideas and things that we haven't thought about as we move forward. And some things might even lead us toward eliminating some things or deleting things. And one of the things that school districts often don't think enough about is, in addition to what you want to start, it's what do you even maybe want to stop. So I just want to give a quick overview. We had 4 meetings, 2 in January, 2 in February, and luckily we escaped the snow and we were able to go through with all of our 4 planned meetings, which now that we know what that snow looked like is pretty amazing that we dodged that. So I'm very happy about that. Just as a reminder, the school district has had a strategic plan that had kind of a lifespan, if you will, of 2013 through 2018, kind of a 5-year overview. But we know that work was happening, of course, prior to that with a succession of strategic plans that the district has had, and work has continued through this year and will continue. And we really want to look at strategic plans as part of the life of a school district. What does that continuous improvement look like? But with that date on there, we know that it's time now to update and to continue moving forward. But just as a reminder, our mission stays very solid, and that's that every student is going to graduate. And as they graduate, they're prepared to lead rewarding, responsible lives as people who contribute to their communities and people who make contributions to the world that we live in. We want them to be ready for their future. We want them to be prepared for college, for a global workplace, for personal success and the choices they make. We want to make sure that they are successful academically. And when they come to school each day, we want that to be a place where they want to be. They feel safe there, they feel secure, they feel stimulated in their learning, and they're interested in what they're pursuing. We want to be able to recruit, hire, and retain strong professionals who are able to deliver those program services every single day. We also want to be responsible with the resources that we have and how we go about designing all of the different supports that are important to students when they come. And we want to engage our community, and that's what this process was really all about. So just to remind people of the purpose of our community engagement forums, it was so that we could have kind of some structured conversations with our community over those series of meetings. Those conversations have led us to what you'll be hearing tonight that took shape after some discussion and processes in those small groups, but really this is about providing kind of some big picture recommendations to the board of directors tonight. We'll take that feedback and we'll use it to begin kind of charting the course for the next strategic plan and where we're going to go, as well as some other guiding documents such as our district student profile. And finally, this is all about focusing on the future of our school district and what are the things that will take special priority moving forward as a district focus. Our format utilized some basic components. People met organized in small groups by topic. We had co-leaders who guided the conversation, staff as well as our community volunteers. We had our recorders who were very diligent in capturing those ideas we went through, and we had a couple in each group so that they could work fast and capture really everything that the group was providing for feedback. Then they had those ideas that began to take shape and be organized into some themes. Those themes have emerged now as findings and recommendations, and I am happy to be at the last stop on the process, which is tonight, in presenting those to the board. Just as a reminder, the groups were focused on these big areas: achievement, technology and innovation, safety and security, recruit, hire, and retain, our facilities and finance, and communication and engagement. So before our groups come up to go over those specific findings and recommendations, we want to extend a very hearty, heartfelt thank you to the people who participated. This was, I have to say, one of the most diligent groups of community members that I have ever seen. Sometimes when you have a series of meetings, that first one gets a big burst of people and everybody's there and excited, and by the time you roll around to that last one, you have 3 people left. And that was not the case. And that was with snow, and we were at 4 different middle schools, so people had to travel to different areas that might have been closer or farther away from where they live and work, and we just had really outstanding participation. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the board for also being part of this process. This is really a collaborative event that is exciting tonight now to go the next steps in formalizing this into our findings and recommendations. So we're going to go through with each group, and I'm going to come back to my seat. And so leaders, I'll ask you just to come up as your slides come up. We'll have one slide that shows the key questions that the group really used to kind of guide the discussions. And of course, there were lots of discussions within those key questions, but that gives our community just an idea of what was covered. And then we'll go through our findings, which are kind of summary statements, and then the recommendations that will be part of our work going ahead. One thing I do want to say is, of course, a strategic plan is not designed to have every last bullet that's contained in these documents, but for us to have big picture thinking. But I will say that as staff members, we were so pleased at the feedback that we got And much of what we covered will also work its way just into the continuous improvement of our operations and the things that our departments do. And so this was a very useful process for a variety of reasons, and also gives us a good sense of some things that we may want to carry forward into conversations next year with possibly some focus groups or some concentrated work. So this serves our district well in a variety of ways. So we're going to start with the achievement group, and I'm going to ask Jen and her community partner, and if you would please introduce your community member with you, that would be great.
Okay, I'm Jen Rose, Director of Teaching and Learning.
I'm Swarnima Ashwin Kumar.
And we had a great group. Like all groups, all the groups were really wonderful. I wanted just to open with one quick comment that one of the students made at the very end of our last meeting. And his comment was that he was so inspired by a diverse group of people coming together to talk about academic achievement for each and every student. And he felt it was inspiring and affirming for him, and he hopes that all students across the district get to hear that as well. It was surprising to him. He didn't realize how hard everyone works and how deeply all of us think about it, but it was great to have multiple voices in there. So the key questions that we talked about in our group were, as we think about the future of our school district, what academic opportunities are important for promoting equitable outcomes and high achievement for all students? And there we go. What areas, strategies, programs are currently effective in promoting college and career readiness? Are there specific areas, strategies, programs we should consider in order to ensure academic access and success to college and careers? Are there alternative programs and settings that we might consider providing as educational options beyond the traditional school programs and locations? And what else would the group like us to consider within this topic?
These are some of our findings from our group discussions. It was found that we may need to increase access of advanced placement and other challenging academic offerings to all students by making more students aware of it. There are many programs in our district that are highly successful, for example, AVID, and more students should be enabled to access benefits to such programs, maybe similar programs.
Other findings were that while information about district and school classes, programs, and district offerings is available in multiple formats, not all families and students are able to access and engage with these resources for meaningful long-term planning for the Lake Washington School District experience and for college, career, and beyond. Another finding was that strong home and family connections that ensure a two-way, multiple direction flow of information are essential, and in our current system, there are multiple barriers to deep and shared engagement.
These are some recommendations that the group made. Create a strong family engagement strategy that is consistent across schools. For example, increasing parent engagement in curriculum development along with staff, or increasing student engagement by collecting more student feedback. Allow students at each grade level to explore how their curriculum connects with their future by providing experiences to enhance that connection. Students present in the forum strongly requested more individualized attention and involved interaction with the school staff, which may be achieved through a more rigorous leadership program.
Further recommendations were that we need to ensure students have systemic and intentional access to adult role models from a variety of backgrounds and careers to help them explore and plan for their future, starting in elementary school and continuing as a consistent element through high school. The group also recommended clearly identifying 21st century skills, knowledge, and attributes with aligned student outcomes determined that will be intentionally taught to all students as part of the core instructional program. We also recommended that we develop a shared school culture that ensures high expectations and success for all children in all classrooms through aligned systems and supports. We further recommended that we ensure universal design for learning be understood by all teaching staff and utilized in all classrooms, that we provide hands-on learning for elementary students during the school day through enriched embedded experiences that could include opportunities to learn coding, virtual field trips, expanded learning in art, and world languages. We also recommend that we provide hands-on learning during the school day for secondary students through experiential, relevant learning opportunities that could include internships and vocational learning.
Here are some further recommendations. Give students an opportunity to learn beyond the regular school months. For example, Somebody suggested giving credit for knowledge gained during travel or extended year opportunities to minimize the summer slide. Employ more creative techniques during classroom teaching by encouraging teachers to leverage the methodologies that connect with students' minds. For example, innovative approaches like Teach the Teacher can give students and teachers a chance to bond further. Develop connections with community and international partners to provide global awareness to students. And develop a mastery of learning through exchange of knowledge and peer support across grades.
And we wanted to thank our committee. Like all groups, they were terrific. Every last person on our committee was very interested in continuing to communicate and collaborate and work together. So we wanted to thank them for that.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sally Askman, and I'm the Director of Technology Operations.
My name is Corey Hartshee. I'm a community member, former, well, I guess I'm still a parent of a graduate, but they've already gone through.
And we had a third co-chair who is at an education conference tonight, Mindy Mallon, so I wanted to recognize her. She's the Associate Director for Technology Integration. Not sure how we were clicking here.
This one.
That one.
Oop, we got to click in here. There we go.
I'll do it that way. So to get our questions set up and get our group oriented, we actually reviewed all of the services and infrastructure that is in place that provides technology delivery both in the classroom and to run the business of our district. Is it that one? There we go. So our first question was, as we think about preparing students for the future, what are your thoughts regarding the direction needed for digital learning and instructional technology to best support student learning? Our second question was, what kinds of programs or partnerships might provide educational opportunities for students in the areas of technology and innovation and future employment? Our third question was, considering all of the subject areas, where do we see the greatest need or opportunity for technology-related enhancements or modifications? And the fourth night, we spent time working on our findings and recommendations and really refine them so that we would be able to present a unified set of findings and recommendations. So our findings: technology broadens learning opportunities and enables a global and changing classroom. It was unanimous that everyone agreed that technology, while implemented in learning-based outcomes, enhances the classroom and learning opportunities. Early ages, as well as secondary students, benefit from technology-enabled learning. Technology choices should support and align with learning outcomes. Technology promotes collaboration, experimentation, personalization. It fosters inclusion. It expands access to knowledge. It enables remote learning, and it motivates and it engages students. We had two great middle school and high school students who said, "Cool technology motivates us." They wanted us to remember that and to bring it forward. Students should be taught to learn with technology and be good consumers of technology and information, and not just users for technology's sake. Great and sustained partnerships guided by data are needed to extend learning for future readiness. And the group spent quite a bit of time talking about the types of partnerships that should be avoided. Those that are too commercial, those that are short-term, those that have strings attached, those that are high cost and high workload, or have potential security issues. There's an opportunity for some content areas to be enhanced with technology, and education leaders must lead and model technology use and innovation. And some teachers may need coaching assistance to meet technology instruction proficiency, and teachers are the primary change agent for classroom innovation.
My involvement in this community, in this group, started on a cold night in January when Dr. Stavum just called me out of nowhere and said, "This is Dr. Jane Stavum, Superintendent of Schools." As every parent, my first thought was, what has my son done now? But then, to my luck, I realized he just graduated from college, and so he was no longer there causing trouble back in school. I had gotten quite a few of those calls because of his energy, I think. So we had a great time in our group. One of our most involved parents, Ying Chow, is here with us tonight, and he will be around for a long time. He is a second grader, so he is really a volunteer for everything and shows up just to support us this evening. So we grouped our, we have them in a linear format, but I want to say that they kind of follow some themes. One of the themes is curriculum integration, another is utilization, professional development of our staff, the partnerships that Sally mentioned, and also enhanced technology usage. And as a parent, Lake Washington School District's technology is phenomenal. When I brag about, I work in a global job, when I brag about what we do in this school district, everybody can't believe that we have over 30,000 computers in the hands of students and are using those every day. So in summary then, of the curriculum areas that we talked about were that we wanted to make sure that we had a standard curriculum across many different areas, including digital citizenship, computer awareness, how to learn with technology. It's not just a game, it's not just a productivity tool, but how do we learn with it? And of course then, you know, how to troubleshoot for your own self as a good user of technology. We also wanted to make sure that there was a standard and utilization across all of the curriculum. There are some teachers that use it more than others, and we recommend that there be some expectations about utilization that's a little bit more even across all of the subject areas. Of course, with that, then we need to have professional learning and development because it's not, people just don't come by this naturally, and our higher education teacher prep programs don't always include it equally. So we need to include that. Another area was that we have more involvement in the elementary school with technology and provide online learning as an option. It's increasingly important both in adult learning and in education that we can supplement and provide a lot more different topics and utilization with using more online learning. Then again, moving to partnerships, we spent a whole evening on partnerships. It was really interesting. We do this because we want to have outcomes that are great for our students. And the more we have realistic partnerships, we can enhance that. Career interests, the student feedback in integrating technology into different areas, internships, all of these in real world jobs and future employment opportunities are super important to both parents and the students as they move through Lake Washington School District. And we want to make sure that they are teaching transferable skills, not just their product, if they're a technology company, but they address a wide variety of vocations and future jobs, not just computer science jobs. Utilizing curriculum that provides some kind of gamification, provides motivation. Some of the students brought up augmented reality. You know, you put the goggles on and you see different things from around the world and you feel like you're there, and maybe you can't travel there, but you can have that experience. And then, of course, increasing technology and digital tools in the vocational area. It was an interesting conversation with culinary arts and health and fitness, behavioral science and the arts, not just coding, but all the areas that you can involve technology and learning and really use that to further your adult success. And then using computer science across all grades. And then there were some really great conversations around having some inter-school competitions on the use of technology, like the Battle of the Bots.
So I just wanted to thank Corey for being an active and fun co-chair, and Ying Chow for coming tonight. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the members of our group.
That one, okay. Okay, good. Hi, my name's Rick Burden. I'm Director of School Support for the Lake Washington Learning Community.
Good evening, I'm Scott Emery, the Risk and Safety Manager for Lake Washington Schools.
And I'm Georgina Bulkley, parent.
So, safety and security is fundamental and critical to all the work that we do. Our kids need to be safe and secure when they're at school. So we had a great group of 25 people, community members, every different kind of staff member that we have in our school district, and they all came with a passion and an expertise about what's important as far as school safety and keeping our kids safe. We started off, or the question we started off with was, are there additional safety and security facility enhancement that we should consider? So we talked a lot about facilities. We also asked about continuing to, focus on safety and our ability to prevent and respond to emergencies, and asked what are some specific programs and strategies that folks would like the district to use to consider as additional safety measures. We also looked at digital safety and how that impacts our students. And then in the end, we had kind of a potpourri of what else should we consider. This topic is emotionally charged, and we had a great group. And we talked a lot about a lot of different things. And Scott and Georgina will share our findings and recommendations.
So our findings are as follows. Over the past several years, the district has invested significant resources towards facility safety upgrades, which includes interior and exterior entry controls, access controls, cameras, interior window shades. The district and building emergency communication protocols and processes are at times inconsistent during or after emergency situations or drills. We also found that despite available information and resources regarding school safety and security, parents often have limited knowledge as to where and how to access the information. The district has also invested significant fiscal, and human resources over the past 5 years toward the social, emotional safety of students, which includes elementary counselors, social emotional learning, behavioral health supports. Despite these efforts, student mental health issues have become an increasing concern across the district, particularly depression and anxiety. The knowledge of staff, parents, and students regarding digital safety lags behind current dangers. SROs are currently assigned to each of our 4 comprehensive high school and 2 out of our 7 comprehensive middle schools. And here are our recommendations.
So our recommendations from the group continue to focus on security enhancements, particularly to older buildings and portables, including ongoing facility audits and campus safety, for example, playgrounds, visibility, and access. To develop and implement standard communication procedures, protocols, templates to alert all stakeholders, districts, staff, parents, students, of emergency situations and drills. Continue to use and explore technology solutions to increase security on campuses, for example, cameras or badging and campus access. Increase education and training efforts for all stakeholders regarding prevention, intervention, and response to emergencies like natural disasters or strangers on campus and the unfortunate potential of an active shooter. Build capacity through fiscal and human resources to focus more on prevention, intervention, and response to students' social and emotional needs, specifically social emotional learning, student behavioral health, drug and alcohol use, and suicide prevention. Increase awareness and training opportunities for all stakeholders regarding safe and acceptable use of technology, particularly social media. Provide consistent and equitable staffing and accessibility to SROs or other security personnel district-wide. Student voice is critical in the development and implementation of district safety and security efforts and upgrades. And lastly, continue to develop and nurture strong partnerships with local jurisdictions, behavioral health providers, and community members.
Hello, I'm Emily Young, Associate Director of HR for Recruitment and Talent Acquisition.
And I am Masika Olumide. I'm a parent in Lake Washington School District.
We had an absolutely fantastic group. We just loved working with them. It included parents, community members, teachers, administrators, classified staff members, and district administrators. And I really think that our group's diverse experiences and expertise helped inform their analysis of this topic and helped provide us with some really complex findings and recommendations coming out of this that we wouldn't have had if we hadn't had such a wonderful group. At the end of our third session, which is when we got dismissed early because of the coming snow, we had people write a little reflection about how they were feeling about this process. And even in those kind of stressful circumstances, people said that they felt excited, motivated, positive, valued, energized, and inspired, which I just thought was a wonderful thing to hear from our community about how they felt about this process. So the questions that we delved into were the solutions the district should consider that might make moving to our district more attractive and affordable for new staff members, the strategies we could implement to encourage a diverse applicant pool in all job positions, and the benefits of living in our school district's communities and how those should be featured more prominently in our recruiting efforts, as well as other topics that the group had some great feedback on. So to start, our findings were that Lake Washington School District has invested resources and maintains strategic focus on the goal of recruiting, hiring, and retaining high-quality, certificated, classified, and administrative staff, and that to recruit the most highly qualified employees to Lake Washington School District, it is important to provide financial and logistical support for credentialing, retention, and retention benefits for current employees. You jump in here because I think it kind of runs into our second part.
Okay.
Right here, actually.
Oh, sorry. Go back one. And lastly, Lake Washington School District is actively working to recruit, hire, and retain a highly effective and diverse workforce. The district has made important gains in this area over the last several years. So much like you, Corey, when I got that phone call, I thought, what has my son done? But I remembered he's still in preschool. So I'd like to just quickly say that I do definitely appreciate being involved in the process. And so, Dr. Staven, thank you for reaching out, and that there are several parents in the room who have contributed to this work who are not a part of the actual committee. So thank you to all of you, Corinne, Tammy, Sandrine, Uwa, and anyone else that I may have missed, and all those who are not here. So in order to recruit and hire a workforce that reflects the diversity of our students and community, Lake Washington School District must engage in early hiring, ongoing outreach to community and affinity groups, and provide supports for potential and future employees who can contribute to the district's goal of hiring a diverse, highly qualified workforce. Our second finding is to increase the diversity of Lake Washington's teacher workforce. Given the current demographic makeup of credentialed teachers in Washington State and the United States, the district must develop a pipeline program to support the development and credentialing of additional educators of color.
We're just going to jump back and forth to keep you entertained. Lake Washington School District currently works to attract high-quality candidates to the district through social media, traditional media, job board advertisements, strategic partnerships, mentoring and professional development, as well as job fair attendance. The district's expansion to these varied forms of candidate outreach supports the recruitment and hiring of high-performing, diverse staff members who are focused on ensuring every student is future ready. And to attract a large number of highly qualified and diverse staff members going forward, the district should continue to expand its advertising, outreach, and partnerships with professional organizations and universities. Moving now into our recommendations, the committee recommended that we develop staff and financial supports for credentialing and transcript translation for highly qualified candidates and those serving in high-need areas. That we also explore the feasibility of loan forgiveness programs and/or financial support for teachers pursuing additional endorsements in high-needs areas. That we open professional development opportunities in the district to educators in other districts, as well as those interested in learning more about education, potential future teachers. And that we conduct further analysis of ways to support the retention of highly qualified employees, including job sharing, professional growth, and retention bonuses in the form of compensation or additional leave.
And lastly, to develop a pipeline for educators of color by partnering with a local university, which offers an alternative route to certification programs in order to support paraeducators and instructional assistants who wish to become teachers. Our next recommendation is to conduct further analysis of ways to provide scholarships in order to diversify Lake Washington School District's workforce, such as scholarships to support educators of color pursuing the alternate route program, or graduates of Juanita High School's Recruiting Washington Teachers program with set years of service commitment. Provide staff specifically focused on outreach to community groups, high school and college students of color, affinity groups, developing a job shadowing program, and support for applicants from other states and countries. I'd like to highlight the affinity groups. This is also considered as a resource group, and a good example of one of those groups would be parents of color, very similar to educators of color that we have here in the school district, but a safe space for parents of color to come together and create solutions that help support the school district's efforts to improve our curriculum and instruction, our culturally responsive teaching, and ways to diversify our staff members, our certificated staff members. And so the parents have a lot of very meaningful ideas and solutions to contribute to this work. And so that's one of the values of our affinity groups. Developing internal and external programs to actively recruit and mentor future administrators of color. And lastly, increase the diversity of Lake Washington representatives at job fairs and on interview panels.
Finally, the group recommended that we develop stronger partnerships with schools of education at local universities, engage in search engine optimization in order to ensure the strengths of Lake Washington School District are apparent to potential applicants, provide additional resources to advertise the district's job opportunities in a larger number of areas, such as social media, niche job boards, and national position-specific sites. That we highlight the unique strengths of Lake Washington School District, such as supports for teachers, the professional fund, benefits for part-time employees, and the diversity of educational programs in the district. That we highlight student voice in advertising for Lake Washington School District in order to attract diverse employees who are passionate about serving our community and its students. And that we increase the participation of teachers and students in the recruitment process at job fairs, alumni events, and serving as cooperating teachers.
Thank you. And next is Facilities and Finance, correct?
Good evening. I'm Barbara Posthumus, Associate Superintendent for Business and Support Services. Brian, you introduce and then we'll.
I'm Brian Malerski. I am the music teacher at Sandberg and Discovery.
Brian Buck, Director of Support Services.
All right, as the other groups mentioned, we had a great group, and Student voice was also important in our group, and I just was amazed. We had one high school student, and within the first 5 minutes of our first meeting, she was able to articulate the challenges of learning in an overcrowded building, and able to have the adults in the room clearly understand what she felt. So our group we had 3 questions, and we talked about non-traditional types of programs and settings that might be appealing to our community. We also discussed ways we can effectively communicate with our community about facility needs and financial priorities and needs. And then the group also looked at examples of shared spaces and shared spaces and schools in urban settings, and the characteristics of these programs that should be considered. Brian, I fortunately have 2 Brians, so we're going to have Brian with the Y come and talk about our findings.
And Dr. Savam was a great excuse to get out of a faculty meeting, so I'm glad she called me too. And our group found that the community that we live in is highly sought after, and therefore the district enrollment has been increasing significantly for the last 10 years, and continued growth is expected. The district needs additional facilities due to unprecedented growth in our community. Communication regarding district facility projects, bond, e-news, open houses are also important. Outdated and undersized facilities limit the educational opportunities we can offer students. The district produces understandable budget and financial documents to effectively communicate with our community. The district also has a history of strong financial management, as evidenced by the meritorious budget award, high credit ratings, and consistently clean state audits. But we did find that school finance and number crunching is very complex and challenging for a lot of just the regular public to communicate and understand.
Okay, so our recommendations. We want to continue to look for ways to expand community partnerships to create spaces for our students to learn. We want to explore community partnerships for all our facilities. These are partnerships with our local jurisdictions, for example, on fields and pools. Explore non-traditional options for facilities, for training, for our schools, for office space. And for example, this is partnerships with businesses. This is building in urban environments and potential mixed use. Expand awareness of school utilization, capacity, and condition through events and partnerships that bring people into our schools. Continue to seek input from students, community on our challenges, how we design our buildings, how we build them, how we future-proof them, and why we have a need for portables. And then seek ways beyond our normal district communication channels. Encourage community volunteers in schools to highlight the programs we have. Explore the use of flexible programming, so for example, night school or online learning, to give different options for high school schedules and start times, and also to create more capacity in schools and offer alternatives for students. Continue to explore choice school options and creative spaces. Work with community partners to explore affordable housing options for staff. Continue to produce a budget document that's in line with our meritorious budget award criteria. Expand the use of infographics, animation, or other simplified methods of communication when we're trying to commute complex financial information with the community. Continue to celebrate our successes and share them with the community. Use students whenever possible to tell the story about what is going well. And target specific demographics with our communications. I think that's it.
Thank you. And now I think our last group is walking up here, which will be community engagement.
Good evening. Last but definitely not least, my name is John Holman, Deputy Superintendent here in Lake Washington.
I'm Shannon Parthimer, Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the district.
And I'm Laura Durso, a parent.
Not just a parent, but a co-chair, and a fine one at that, so thank you. Before we get started, our topic of communication and engagement was all about how do we communicate to a very diverse population that we serve, over 100+ languages spoken, families living in different settings, knowing that we have families moving here from all over the world, and knowing that the information that we want to share and the information we want to receive is going to be varied and very different from how we are able to do that. And so our discussions and conversations were very rich, and some very good findings and recommendations for you tonight. To engage our committee, we had some very good questions. We could have started with just this first question, and our committee could have talked for all 4 evenings and probably still would be going if we would have let them. So great, rich dialogue. So we started with, what are the methods or strategies we can use to effectively communicate information, celebrations, logistical information, input opportunities about our district to the community? And then also, what are the methods or strategies we can use to effectively respond to our community in both crisis and non-crisis situations? What are the methods and strategies we can use to effectively communicate and engage our families who may not have English as their primary language? What are the most effective methods or strategies for school-specific communications? And finally, what else do we need to know?
Our findings, we had 4 findings, and the first one is, given the various locations of school and district information, parents may be confused about where to turn for specific information about their children's education and crisis situation. There are many different tools being used by teachers in schools and little training provided to parents on how to use and access the tools. And families have different preferences for how they want to access and receive information. Some may want newsletters, while others might want each school to have its own presence on social media. The same information should be available in multiple ways. And finally, Lake Washington School District and its schools can develop strategies to increase personal connections with families and community members, especially those who are underrepresented.
So some of our recommendations: ensure proactive, varied, and consistent methods of communication. Develop an app for parents and students to streamline the user experience with all the different tools currently being offered to students and parents. Reach our audiences where they are in person through social media and through traditional media, and then also explore some other ways to reach out to them. Provide communication training to staff at the school level to ensure messages are being sent and received in appropriate methods across the district. Offer training on tools that are currently used, and think about streamlining future tools so that the district plans to implement or use. Let families and community members know how we will communicate with them in an emergency. Provide opportunities for community and parent feedback and input. Go beyond surveys to gather feedback and guidance from parents, community members, staff, and students. Find ways to encourage genuine community engagement on topics that are critical to the success of our students. For some examples are in-person meetings like Soup with the Soup or Coffee with the Principal events. Post these videos online, offer webinars, or offer online town halls as different ways to encourage that engagement. Connect with all demographics in our increasingly diverse community through thoughtful outreach. Be radically welcoming and provide uncommon service. Offer new family welcome events throughout the year, since we know families come at all different times throughout the year, and in a variety of locations and methods. Partner with local companies and organizations to welcome new employees and provide them with information about our schools. And develop parent liaisons within our schools to support new parents and ensure that parents get the information that they need for their students to be successful.
Thank you to everybody, and thank you to all of you who joined us tonight, and for those who are watching online as well. Board members, you have this all in a document, and that document will be available online, and we'll be using that as we kind of begin to go the next steps. But please consider this the gift to all of you from our community and those who participated as our best voices in thinking, but certainly not an exhaustive list, but one that's designed to help us go the next steps as we craft the next strategic plan. Some next steps will be to digest all of this information, and then we'll process of weaving those into what some district goals are going to look like, and then we'll be getting feedback on a draft of that next iteration. So that won't happen tomorrow. There'll be some other steps in place, but this is kind of the next part of that process. The goal really is hopefully by the time that we get ready to start our 2019-2020 school year, we'll have that plan ready to go to guide our work. But please extend our thanks to those who weren't able to join us tonight, but for everything you did. This was truly a gift. This is just really great information. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Any comments from any board members?
I just wanted everybody to know that we were asked not to interrupt and ask questions. We're all fascinated. We're all incredibly appreciative of the work that's gone down here. And I, for one, can't hold it in anymore, but I'll ask my questions later. So thank you so much. It was phenomenal. I'm very pleased with the product that we're looking at here. And I appreciate all the time that people put into this. So this is fantastic.
I also like to really thank everybody that came, regardless of what topic you went into, the enthusiasm that everyone showed, the personal stories. I mean, that's what makes the difference when you're talking about a point, is to try and communicate what it means to you, your child, your students, whatever. And you did it well and respectfully to each other. That's, to me, in this day and age, amazing. But I really want to thank y'all, and anything we can do to help along the lines of those issues that really interest you or confront you, please get a hold of us, call us, email us, stop us as we're going out of the building. Thank you.
Just to reiterate what Chris said, I could have sat in on any one of these breakout groups and been absolutely fascinated by what all of you were working on. It's all important. And when we do want to hear from you, if you have additional ideas, if you left that fourth meeting and thought, now I have this fantastic idea I should have shared, please do share it, because we want to hear from you and hope that you build on all of these ideas that we just have begun creating.
So we had, in the group I was in, we had I think Barbara talked about this, we had a wonderful student who participated and gave great feedback. And so it's great that that was able to inform where we're at right now. I'd just like to encourage everyone else on the board that we need to continue trying to engage with our students as we continue going through this process, that we don't just, because we did it once, we stop now.
And finally, I just wanted to say radically welcoming is my favorite new phrase of the week. Hello! Okay, I'm very much in favor of this.
I would love to see that student who was participating and talking about how the overcrowding of schools was affecting her education and her friends' education. I'd love to have that person join us at the levy committee meetings, because I think having her on tape, having her on video, for that matter, giving presentations would be enormous in passing our next levy.
And with that, I'd just like to wrap up and say thank you so much for all the work that has gone into this. As you know, this is just the first step in a process, and the great thing is this really is the beginning of the community engagement component. So we will actually have opportunity at an extended retreat, work session, to be able to dive into these and do more discussion and topic around a variety of things, and all of that will come back again out to the community as we sort of lay that stage going forward for where the district goes and becomes the world-class district that we know it is and will continue to be. So again, without your involvement and everything there, we wouldn't be able to hold these discussions. There is so much there. We put a lot of faith in Dr. Stavum and staff at really taking this and taking all those different nuggets. This was a summary. I had the opportunity to sit in every single group and hear all the different discussions from different angles. And there are many more ideas, clearly, that came out behind that. All of those are also being addressed. I just want to make sure that those are being considered and looked at. And so thank you. It's exciting to look forward to what those goals will be in the coming future, and we all have a say in the public schools. This is the opportunity for public to be in it. So thank you very much for all your time and effort, and we look forward to continued engagement and discussion. And with that, I think we're going to move on to our next item. And it is an outcome, so you might be interested. It's on science. We had done a monitoring report on our ends results on achievement on science about a month ago.
Sorry, before we move on, just so you know, this framework, the information you've given us, we're going to be taking this into the extended work session as a major piece of our conversation. So we are far from done with this tonight. We have other things to do tonight, and for now, we have seen the presentation, and we have our homework cut out for us. So thank you again.
And honestly, it is so much information. There is time needed in which to break through those themes and all those components that was provided. So this will give us some time in which to think through that in order to be able to hold much more thoughtful discussions going forward. Okay, can we go on? All right, and with that, we are moving to the approval of the monitoring report. If you remember, we did the ends results for science, which is looking at what are the achievement outcomes that we have had throughout K-12 in regards to science. We had that presented to us back in January, and then we now then do a summary of that based on that. So I'm going to pass this over to Director Carlson. If you can just give us a quick summary as to what that is, and then I would be entertaining a motion in which to go forward.
Right, so in principle, this is something where we should be able to do it with a faster turnaround, but I am obviously a problem child. So it took me longer than I desired or even promised to get this back to everyone, and I apologize for that. That said, the conversation was rather satisfying for science, and it actually is beautiful in terms of dovetailing with our study session earlier this evening. Broadly speaking, the assessment is, I tried to synthesize points of view on, where are we in terms of absolute performance? Are we happy with where we're at? Are we happy with where we're going? Do we agree with items of concern that were raised? Are there other items of concern that weren't necessarily raised, but where we'd like to see more digging in the coming year? I distributed this, I want to say Friday at 4. So I apologize for doing that to you on your weekends, but at the same time, I did actually distribute it, so I'm considering that a victory. It's the primary statement of progress. The starting point is that we're doing pretty well. We're proud of we agree with the assessment of the administration that, being first in the state for our size of district in 5th grade and in the top 2 or 3 by 8th grade is impressive. It's a great place to be. It's not necessarily something where we want to rest on laurels, but it's something that we are proud of where we are. There were a few concerns that were raised where we agree. The gaps remain an issue. An example of a gap that is not a concern, as with math and ELA, we're not really worried about the concern for current ELL students. Their performance can be substantially behind our non-ELL students. It's our post-ELL students. Are they at the same speed as their peers in grade? And I have to say that as with our ELA and math results, the overall summary is that yes, that program's working, which is fantastic. But we're still interested in trying to close the gaps that we're observing in SPED, persistent gaps that we're observing in free and reduced lunch, low-income kids, and in the Hispanic and Latino, the largest minority that we track. And there was one thing that did come up in conversation, I think I raised it and Siri backed me up, or vice versa, around the question of, for our low-income kids, is there a difference in performance for kids who are at Title I schools where they're receiving substantial supports, and the average might be closer to where they're at versus the kids who are somewhat isolated. In our district, the number of Title I schools is dwindling, actually. I think we're down to 2. And so most of our kids who are on free and reduced lunch are not necessarily in a school that has a lot of peers with them, and making sure that the wraparound services are there to support them. That said, we were very supportive of what the district is doing in terms of trying to provide those wraparound services. I'm sure there is more, but I'm winging it at the moment because I didn't have it pulled up before you threw the baton to me. And I hope that you guys don't mind my synthesis of the conversation from last time. The written report, like I said, has a couple more points in there, but I think I've covered the ones that were of great interest broadly. Any conversation is welcome, but
I move approval of the assertion of progress report dated March 4, 2019 as presented in our board packet.
Second.
So it's been moved by Director Liberty and seconded by Director Stewart that we approve the assertion of progress in the monitoring report that was provided to us. Is there any discussion? Any questions?
Thank you, Director Carlson, for preparing this. I don't want to reiterate everything you said, which is in the report as well. And thank you for taking the time to summarize it, both in the report and again for our audience tonight. And thank you to staff as well for your work.
Hearing no more discussion, I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. So thank you very much. With that, I'd like to just call for a 2-minute recess or so. So before we move on to that, so if anybody would need to leave for this evening after that, we appreciate your time in coming this evening. We have a few more things to do, but we're going to take a 2-minute recess, and then we'll come back at 8:34. I'm doing my math correctly.
Mark. Okay.
All right, as we are all now back, thank you. And we will continue with the rest of our meeting. So our next item on the agenda is the program report. And so Dr. Staven will do that.
Yes, and tonight we have a couple people presenting. Matt Montebianco, our Associate Superintendent for Student and Professional Learning Services, is going to start us out, and then Stephen Bryant, our Director of Professional Learning, will also be part of our presentation. They're going to give you an update tonight on some of the things that we've been busy with in professional learning.
Good evening. It's great to be with you and to spend some time reviewing what we're doing in professional learning. I just want to set the stage for Stephen's work, which he'll be doing the bulk of the presentation. When we think of professional learning, we really think of it in relation to two other big learnings. Student learning, that's what we're all about, that's what we're here for, and system learning. So as we get smarter as a system, as we think about ways to improve our schools, our entire system, it's all to the benefit of students. This particular report is aligned to our third strategic goal, which is recruiting, hiring, and retaining highly effective personnel. The three objectives are attracting, recruiting, and retaining highly qualified personnel. So it's our professional learning to do that through providing quality training and professional learning systems, and refining and implementing systems for professional growth and evaluation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bryant, who's going to take you through the focus, which is twofold: our approach to professional learning as well as our new professional learning management system. So thank you.
Good evening. It's good to be here, and what a great meeting so far. So I'm going to talk about professional learning, and we're going to talk about the overall approach for professional learning, and then also I'm going to focus on our new professional learning management system. I did want to say that there's no possible way to cover all the professional learning that happens in an organization or in our organization in one presentation. That really, being a learning organization, professional learning is at the core of everything that we do, both as individuals and as teams, as schools, and as departments, and as a whole organization. So I'm going to give you some snapshots along the way, and just knowing that this is exactly that, a snapshot. I wanted to start with, and I went a little too fast for that, but that's okay. The administrator continuum of support. And here we're looking at how are we supporting our administrators. In particular, I'm talking about those new to the district. I'll talk a little bit about our new administrator orientation, and then the monthly new administrator meetings that happen during that. When someone is new to the building, also the directors of school support provide weekly check-ins and support along the way. There are opportunities for peer-to-peer support. And then professional learning for all of our district leadership team, which is ongoing professional learning. I want to talk about the district leadership team meetings, including level meetings and community meetings, learning community meetings, and then the opportunities for individual professional learning. So to point out just a few of them, every year we welcome new administrators to our organization, both administrators in the building and administrators here and department leads and so on. And so we start off, and actually it's always fun to come back just a few days earlier than everyone else and start with a 2-day summer induction for our new administrators. We continue throughout the year, and I work with the the directors of schools to do monthly meetings. And then we're always focusing on leadership skills, change management, organizational knowledge. And this year we had 19 new administrators with us. And one of the fun parts about that is to how all of the directors come and explain their programs and how to access this. And this is a photo of that actually happening, where people are doing a walk around the room to find out about this was the communications department. We offer the District Leadership Series, and I point this out because really this has to do with our August sessions for district administrators, our level, learning community, and district leadership meetings throughout the year. And this is required learning. We focus on culturally responsive teaching, social emotional learning, rigor and challenge, school safety, and technology integration. All administrators participate in that, but here I'm calling out that 83 participate in a formalized class around this so that they can receive clock hours that go towards their professional certification, renewing it every 5 years. I also wanted to point out that our district leadership training around equity teams includes 1 administrator and at least 2 teachers from every school. We also have department leads in this process, and teachers on special assignment who are working in these areas also participate. This is under the direction of our Director of Equity this year, and with support around from other directors along the way. And we had 1 day, all-day equity team training, and then we followed that by 4 two-hour evenings throughout the school year, focusing on equity activities and really working to ensure that every student has equitable access to educational opportunities. I'm going to talk about certificated staff now, so think about that as the educators in the system. And here again, we think of this as a continuum. One of the plays we start is with our Educator Introduction Academy. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. For those teachers who are novices, this is really teachers who come to us with no professional experience in teaching. They automatically enter into our new teacher support program, which is a 2-year program. As teachers and educators work through the process, they need to start thinking about, within 5 years of the looking at their professional certification. So we offer some support on how that they can renew their professional certification. There's also opportunities for professional learning series and professional learning coaches. For those educators who are 5 years and beyond, we continue that support that we offer to the novices, and we also add the opportunity for them to participate in our National Board Certification Program. There is required and ongoing learning all the way across. You'll see that at the arrow at the bottom, happening in our August LEAP elementary and secondary content levels. And we had breakout sessions this last August, including at the elementary level. We looked at required learning around literacy, dyslexia, handwriting, next generation science standards, K-5 highly capable, standards-based interim assessments, working in alignment with our specialist programs, and then looking at a systematic instruction in phonological awareness. At the secondary level, during those content sessions, we focused on science and math, and we were looking at how to teach our teachers to use interim assessments aligned with common core state standards, and a theme along the whole way around rigor and collaboration. We also had a second group of secondary educators that we focused on, and those were in the areas of visual arts, drama, music, physical education, health, and English languages. And once again, we were looking at alignment and collaboration, and with a focus around a rigor in those areas also. So for me, one of the great parts of my job is the opportunity to host the Educator Introduction Academy. And each year, over the last 3 years, we've roughly welcomed 173 educators new to our system. About half of those educators are actually new to the profession also. This happens at Lake Washington High School. It's wonderful to have such a wonderful facility and opportunity for the new educators in our district to come together together. They spend time learning around our technology and how to use that technology in their instruction. They spend time hearing from the superintendent and a welcome. We look at our vision, mission, guiding principles, and our student profile. We also break out into small or groups where educators are really learning about the curriculum and instructional practices for whatever content area or grade level they're teaching. For those educators who are new to the profession, they immediately are a part of our new teacher support program. We have 9 consulting teachers that work in that program, and that's a 2-year program where we focus both on first-year teachers and second-year teachers. You'll see that in 18-19, we had 129 first-year teachers and 132 second-year teachers that we met with regularly and offered workshops for them, opportunities to go on learning walks in classrooms where that they can learn from not only their peers, but from teachers who have been in the profession for a longer period of time. So very exciting program. And I wanted to mention, well over 20 years old. So we're very proud of that program. As you're aware, for educators to keep their professional certifications, they need to continually renew. And we've created opportunities for them to do that. One of the biggest opportunities is our Wednesday early release days. This year, we've had some themes around culturally responsive training, to just list one of those. But during those days, there are 2 primary days that they can earn what we call our clock hours for, and that is for their PCC times, their professional community and collaboration time, and for their professional learning time. And this year, we have 1,235 participants who've signed up for this class and are working towards clock hours for that opportunity on early Wednesday releases. I was just here, I think, our last board meeting to present with you the National Board Certification Program. This is also a really wonderful program because this provides teachers with a 1 to 3 year process to do a very deep reflection on their own practices in the classroom and to do some data-driven improvements around their instructional practices. We're very proud to have 336 currently National Board certified teachers in our system. We've certified and helped support probably double or triple that number, but you know, teachers do move on, but we're very proud of that process. What's really wonderful is we do provide them with 3 release days to help facilitate their learning, but if you'll be here almost any Saturday morning early, you'll see this group of teachers here working hard towards their national certification. We also have the Professional Learning Coach Program, which is an opportunity for educators to invite a coach into their classroom to actually look through and work through what we call a learn, apply, and reflect cycle of inquiry, and they will oftentimes do this several times to address an area of where they believe that they want to improve their instructional or their classroom environment behaviors. So this year, or last year, we had 307 teachers participate in that program. We have, where I talked before about some baseline learning that happens through our August LEAP times, our also August full days, and also our Wednesday early release times. We also have opportunities through what we call the Professional Learning Series for educators to either explore something that they've not done before or not been exposed to, or to further their knowledge, going even deeper around a subject that's been introduced prior to them. So a couple of the topics that we've been focused on are culturally responsive teaching, classroom management, and lesson unit and planning. So this happens either through classes, book studies, cohorts, or workshops. And last year we had 1,246 participants. Some of these are double participants because we're counting them. They may sign up for more than one class or more than one opportunity. Okay. Classified staff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the classified staff. And if you think about classified staff, we're really talking about anyone who's not an educator, not a principal or a teacher or an administrator. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Here again, we're looking at a continuum of support. How do we provide induction activities through new employee orientation and some job-specific training? We're also looking at providing workshops, roundtables, classes, and one-to-one support, and then opportunities for actually professional skills enhancement. And a great example there is Microsoft certification in Office 365 or Outlook or Excel, and we offer opportunities for our classified professionals to participate in those programs. One of the major groups of this group in this area are office professionals. So those are the people who are working in the front offices of our schools and also here at the Resource Center and in our operations. And we offer a number of classes for them. We offer in August, 126 of them this year came to our professional workshop. We also offered 594 of them participated in classes outside of that workshop, and we actually worked to help onboard 220 with onboarding or mandatory training opportunities. So this is a really important group as we talk about the idea of customer service and customer relations. These are the first people that many people in our district who come to our district meet and experience, and so we want to work to particularly support them in their abilities to greet and meet the needs of our community. Instructional Assistants, our RIA program, we have a focus on student behavior. We've been talking about special needs, playground, recess supervision, small group, literacy instruction. Every year in March, and we have it coming up this year, we have an annual mandatory instructional assistance training day. Last year we had 251 people participate in that. And this year, we're going to be focusing on equity. We'll be mirroring the work that we've been doing with educators around equity. The year before, we focused on special needs students, in particular autistic students. And the year before that, we focused on child developmental stages, knowing that this is a group that works heavily with students, but isn't necessarily a group that comes with an educational background. We also offer after-school classes, including the Parapro. And you may be aware, but the legislature put new mandates on both instructional assistants and paraprofessionals around either educational level or around completing the Parapro assessment. So last year, we put together a whole program to make sure that our IAs and paraprofessionals had either that educational level or had completed the Parapro assessment. And so we took 376 people through that process, and we're very proud of the hard work that they put in there, and were able to continue employment with us. We also have the support for paraeducators, and that support is primarily provided through the special education department at this point. They provide job-embedded mentoring, and then they also have Crisis Prevention Institute, special training for dealing with a student who may be in crisis, and then also they also have dedicated time during our LEAP times where they're bringing all the paraprofessionals together, paraeducators together to provide them with training. I'd like to talk to you just a few minutes about the professional learning management system, and this is the electronic system that we're using to help us manage our professional learning across the organization. The professional learning management system would support learning of all Lake Washington school staff. So this is something that would be available and will help us support and manage this. We're going to focus on beginning with onboarding and continuing throughout the professional life of each employee as guided by the district strategic plan and job-specific requirements. This professional learning management system will support the development, delivery, and management, including reporting of innovative best practices, ADA accessible, and user-friendly learning. through, and there's kind of 4 areas of professional learning. Remember, I'm talking about the types, not the content in this point. So instructor-led training, traditional instructor-led trainings, e-learning, where you're actually experiencing the learning online, a blended learning approach, and collaborative learning. I'll talk a little bit about each of those in just a moment. Why did we choose the PLMS Cornerstone? So the provider of this tool is called Cornerstone, and currently there are over 35 million end users in this program. And some of our local friends and people across the country who are using the same program are Fred Hutch, Amazon, Seattle Government, Alaska Airlines, Les Schwab, Federal Way, Boeing Credit Union, and Denver City, and then Los Angeles Unified School District. And what we were looking for is a program or an opportunity of a resource that would grow with us and that we could take advantage for over a long period of time. We were also looking for an industrial leader that wasn't going to be gone tomorrow. And you know that sometimes with software providers that happens. So we wanted to make sure that that happened. Also, many of the smaller ones were just focused on the educator side of school districts, and we wanted to make sure that we could focus on all staff. To really be able to use this resource, it will take us a number of years. And what this slide really just does is kind of project out where we're starting and where we're going. We really started at the beginning of the summer and before planning, but we've moved all of our instructor-led training and our opportunities for clock hours into the system. And so the old system was called Inform. So we're working and have successfully done that. We're now looking at and exploring e-learning, looking in the future at collaborative learning opportunities for spaces online where people can come together and learn together. And then we will do a continuous opportunity for continuous improvement in the sustainability. So if you looked at some of the organizations that I shared before, they're huge organizations who are using this resource, and it will take time for us to get it fully implemented, but in the long run, it will be with us for a long time. So if you're an employee of Lake Washington School District and you go on to our resources, electronic resources, you'll find the PLMS Cornerstone. And this page just represents the home page for the end user. And it gives you an opportunity where it will say Learner Home or Learner Search, where they can go to find opportunities for learning. This system allows us not only to have end users find learning that they're interested in, it also allows us to assign specific learning and to ensure that they've either taken it online or in person, so we can report on that and monitor that, and we'll not have people slip through the system. In addition, there's an opportunity for people to, the compass there, to click on that and see what professional learning is planned for them in the future, so they'll know where they're going. The next little emblem there is their transcript, which is just a list of all of the professional learning that they will have taken. At some point, that we are hopeful that we will be able to track all of the professional learning that happens in the system. And then the last one where you see the calendar there is an opportunity for them to browse a calendar and say, oh, I have this time or this space available. I'd like to take a class during that time. So there's different ways for them to access this. Just reinforcing the number of instructor-led training. Once again, we have all of our, what we would call optional opt-in professional learning in, requested professional learning for educators currently in this system. That's the only way now that they can receive clock hours, so we're excited about that. E-learning, there's actually 2 ways to think about e-learning, and the 2 ways is to either buy a resource or have access to an e-learning resource that's already made, or to make our own professional e-learning resources. So I'm giving 2 examples here. One example is called Safe Schools, and we have access to all of the curriculum on Safe Schools through our insurance cohort with other districts. And then this year we've experimented, and 2 schools and 1 department here at the district office did their staff digital citizenship and digital research or digital citizenship mandatory learning online through this system. This is just an example of how someone can go on to the system and look at these are various book studies. Primarily they're around equity right now going on, and that they can choose to join a book study. When you think of blended learning, what we've found that works best for our book studies is actually to start together as a group, then go off and do the reading and do some reflection online, and then to come back and do a celebration and talk about that in person. So it's kind of a hybrid between instructor-led training and e-learning, and it's a book study is a great opportunity to see that. As we get down the road, we'll also be able to create what are called connect communities inside this system, where people who are coming together, maybe this might be around next generation science standards or some other initiative that we're implementing within this system, where people want to learn more about it and share what they've learned and to access additional learning. So that space is called the PLMS Cornerstone Connect. One of the most exciting things about this system is that by acquiring this system, we're able now to give Lake Washington School District clock hours. So we've become an authorized clock hour provider through the state of Washington. And we are able to do that electronically and not charge educators for those clock hours. Many school districts in the past have done this, and because you have to create accounting systems and other kinds of systems, they would actually charge for the clock hours, which means you have to get finance involved and all these other ways of getting people involved. So this was really a wonderful opportunity to provide a service to our educators, in particular around clock hours, and to not have to charge them because the system allows us to do it very efficiently and for the same amount of money that we were doing when we were partnering with one of our local universities and charging them money to do that. So very excited about that. The PLMS is also an opportunity for us to sample to do some data mining around professional learning, which we've not been able to do in the past. I'm just going to call out some examples of that data mining for you here. So between September 15th and February 20th, we had 683 participants in 24 classes with an average of 28 individuals in each class. We know, because they told us through our surveys, that 401 of them actually took the end of the class survey, which is 59%, which is a really high number if you think about surveys. We'd like to get it higher, but 44% of the attendees identified as elementary level educators and 56% as secondary educators. We learned that 33% of them were first year teachers, 11% were teachers or educators in their first 5 years, and 56% were educators in years 6 through 20. Of that group, we awarded 1,666 Lake Washington School District clock hours were awarded. I'm not sure I mentioned this before, but why are clock hours really important to educators? For 2 primary reasons. One is they need them to recertify every 5 years, and the second one is it allows them to move up on the salary schedule. So they find that pretty important. Another way to data mine this is really to get some information about our instructors, our content, are we engaging people? You'll see here that this is from those 401 surveys. Of them, 96% of them agreed or strongly agreed that the instructor was, or the instructors were, knowledgeable about the subject matter. Additionally, those 401 educators said that the instructors of the class actively engaged them in learning and they modeled good teaching. I think this is the most important statistic, is that 95% of them said that the knowledge or skills that they learned from this professional learning, they could apply this in their work setting. So that was exciting. I'm going to finish with just some other ways that we can collect data through the system. And this is where people are really just giving an open-ended comments on the class. So we heard great lesson. Honestly, I didn't know really how I was going to implement success criteria other than knowing that I wanted to. This was really insightful. So once again, when I was referring to the class as getting people started with a new idea or an area that they might not know of, they can also give us critical and important feedback for us modifying our classes. I'd love to hear more about how to set up my whole lesson focused on rigor and exploration instead of just individual questions or single activities. So that really tells me that the class, they were looking for something broader than we delivered in that class. Great instructor, I will look for her from now on. Great class, I feel like could benefit from another session. So this is also a way of giving us information. Do we need to offer the class again? I felt the pace of the class was not as orderly and organized as it could have been. And this last one, it was great to take a class that was about increasing the rigor in academics in my classroom. So with all of those greats on that page, I wanted to just take this opportunity to say it's been great to be here with you this evening, and thank you for your support and your attention to professional learning across the organization. As I said, I really believe, and I think as an organization, we have to provide opportunities for individuals to learn and to seek their own interests. We also have to provide opportunities to support small teams and smart groups, and smaller groups, whether they're the office staff in a building, or they're the para-educators in the building, or they're the team of professional learning community at each grade level or content. And then as an organization, we have to determine what is mandatory, what is required, and how do we as a system make sure that that is both provided and an opportunity to access it, but also that we can report on it. And I believe that all of those things are possible through the work that we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Matt. I would just like to say that when I first came to the district last summer, not knowing much about anything or knowing anyone, Stephen was one of the first people that I met and actually worked with, because I had a golden 2 hours allocated to me, which I knew not what I was going to do completely. But one of the most refreshing and affirming things that I saw very early was Stephen presenting. And I've seen presenters all over the country, and Stephen really is masterful and serves as a model for the people that he is also teaching and working with as he works with different groups. It's a great way to model what really effective teaching looks like from adult to adult. And so it's fun to see the work of the PLMS taking shape, but really great to have not just Stephen, but many, many people who are highly skilled presenters and teachers of the adults in our district. And so I'm very appreciative of the work that you do in your department. So thank you.
Stephen, I'd like to thank you and the rest of the folks that work with you on eliminating the clock hours issue. It was new to me, but to be quite frank, the one thing I think holds back anyone from doing professional development and professional learning is our hurdles. And to take away a hurdle that sounded like it's just a foolish little pain in the backside, that was a technology or a record-keeping aspect, to me that's fantastic, because the idea, the more you can get folks to the trough, the better. And making it easy, that makes it even nicer.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I have a question, and I don't expect you to have an answer. This is more of a thought bubble going on right here. I've been a parent in this district for 23 years, and I would say the first 15 of them, I did not appreciate how important professional development is, not just for teachers, but for all staff. If you could be thinking about a way that you could describe this importance to the community, I think that would be very beneficial. So no answer required tonight, but we'll talk at some point.
Okay.
I have, so we're in year one of deploying this, yes?
Of the professional learning management system?
The PLMS.
Yes. Yes.
I'm fascinated by that. I was about to give you credit for it, but apparently we started before you showed up. Now, Within that, the scope as we grow it, so for the instructional time, the individual or interactive teaching, is this something where we're, in order to scale that, we're repurposing parts of the organization? Because it looks like we're going to grow this on slide 24 about threefold in terms of resources. And I'm just curious, is that an accurate perception?
Yes, and I'll answer for you just from the structural side of things. One of the areas where we are needing to add reinforcements is on the classified staff side of things, just in terms of the new requirements, as well as how that fits with recruiting and retention, and then really effective onboarding. And you have sometimes a little bit more frequency of some of the things that you can't just do it, at the beginning of the year and then be done until mid or end year. It's kind of has to be an ongoing process. And then with the curriculum specialists coming into play next year, we know that there will be ways to enhance offerings that go a little deeper in some of our subject areas, and they'll be critical in that work. And so it's all going to take shape. So yes, very much so. And I would say Stephen's been doing a lot of work and needs that, and we're very aware of that.
So a second piece then is for the classes that you're reporting back on from these 688 people, it looks like they're about 3-hour classes. And I'm just trying to figure out, is the mechanics of this, is this part of what teachers do with early release on Wednesday? Is that something where, when I'm talking, parents, I get a lot, all of us have been asked this question, what do you do? Is this part of it, and is that an accurate representation?
So twofold answer. When teachers are early released on Wednesdays, that professional learning is not currently, I did not report on that.
Part of this. Okay,
that was the other part where it said 1,244 participated in that class. We haven't closed it, we haven't collected data on it yet.
Okay.
The classes that I noted there were classes through the professional learning series, or they were cohorts, or they were workshops, or they were book studies. And so, yes, many of our classes are just 2 hours long. Book studies happen over a longer period of time. Generally, they're about 10 hours of meeting. And then we also have cohorts, which are teachers who really want to go deep into learning around a subject, and they actually build a learning community that meets several times over the year. They do a cycle of inquiry together. They support each other. They learn, they apply, they reflect, they collect some data on that. And so that's a deeper form of learning. So all of that was represented in what I shared with you.
Great. And my last question, and this is mostly in jest, can you flip back to slide 31? It's just it's obviously a clip art of some sort, but it's your jigsaw puzzle. And
yes.
I am ADD, which I'm pretty sure is mutually incompatible with OCD. But when you show me a jigsaw puzzle and the only two pieces that are assembled don't fit together, those two pieces that are clicked together clearly don't belong together. Anyway, so
that's error-based learning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. So, thanks.
No. Any other questions? If not, I want to say thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that
Thank
and
you. I
your
enjoyed it.
time. And that was fabulous to learn about all the professional learning opportunities and the investment we make in our staff, classified, administrators, and certificated. And from there, Dr. Stephen, is there a superintendent's report this evening?
Yes, a short but important part of an announcement. We are in the process of going through a few different steps that we have to go through to determine what we are going to do with the time that we have to make up from the snow days that are lost. One of the things that I would encourage you and our community to think about is that every district looks a little different depending on other events that your district may have where you chose not to have school for one reason or another. We had winter break where some districts were still in session, had to call some additional snow days. They might have had other events earlier in the year with weather or other things. So we have to look at that specific to our district. There are some contractual pieces. There are some agreed upon processes. But what I can say that I think is most important to people right now is the upcoming leap day on Friday will not be part of that plan. So if people are wondering, can we still go ahead with our plans on Friday? Yes, you can. The other days that people have asked about are spring break days. Those also will not be part of the plan for making up that time. There are just too many logistical pieces into plans that have already been made, things that families are planning on, staff have planned on it as well, and we want to have both teachers and students who show up on the days that we're going to make up, and we just felt like that was not a good decision. So nothing will happen this Friday. That day is as scheduled. Spring break is as scheduled. Then we'll be hopefully announcing what the plan is going to be as soon as possible. We're hoping later this week or at the very latest, very early next week. So that is what I can tell you at this point. That information will be coming out. We're also going to send out some messaging tomorrow just on the leap day and the spring break aspect of it so people can plan for that.
I just have one question. Are there built-in snow days into our calendar in general?
We have one built-in day at the end of May that most likely will be part of our planning because that's already set aside for that. So that's a fairly sure bet, but that'll be part of the overall plan that we'll announce.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, Director LaLiberty, a legislative update of what is happening down in Olympia.
Let me get my notes ready here. Okay, so there were the deadline for bills to move out of committee, bills that are not, let me back up. There are two tracks of bills in the legislature, if people don't recall. There are bills that are critical, or what is the term? Let me get this right here.
Implement the budget.
Well, actually necessary to implement the budget, but good try. I'm punchy. So any of those bills are not subject to the deadlines that I'm going to be talking about. Any bill that is not necessary to implement the budget had to be out of committee by the end of last week and must be passed by the House of Origin by the end of this week. So there are some deadlines there. Many of the bills that are priorities for us involve funding from the legislature and are thus necessary to implement the budget, and so are not subject to these deadlines. But, okay, so that's the preface to my report. I'm going to start with, so one of our legislative, for the audience at home, the school district, the board put together a set of legislative priorities for this current legislative session that is available on the website where you can read the one-pager that we put together outlining those legislative priorities. One of our priorities was to lobby the legislature to increase special education funding. It is a significant part of our budget that is not covered by the funding that we receive by the state. So there have been a number of proposals in Olympia to help to start to solve this issue that many districts face. So one of those proposals was to change the funding mechanism to be a tiered funding mechanism. I don't know if you recall the last time I came to you and talked about this. And then the other mechanism was to change the equation, increase the ratio, the multiplier the districts receive. Of the proposals, the one that has moved out of committee, at least so far. Now again, these bills are not necessarily required to move out of committee, but the one that appears to have support is to increase the ratio, which is what, in talking with staff, is our preference, is that we're concerned that changing the funding mechanism could cause administrative costs and be harder to implement. So that has moved out of committee. It actually moved out of committee with unanimous support from all of the committee members, suggesting broad bipartisan support that this will move forward. That is now in the Rules Committee in the Senate. It's a Senate bill. And the Rules Committee needs to bring that forward for a vote before the Senate body. We have, let's see here, of our elected officials, Senator Cutterer is on the Rules Committee. For those who, Chris, I believe you live in her district, it could be beneficial for you to remind her of this being our priority. I can put together some language for you.
That would be great.
Excellent. So that is one thing that's going on. The other, one of our other priorities is to ask the legislature to change the school bond law to move from the 3/5 that are currently required of voters to a simple majority. That moved out of committee in the Senate. It did not in the House. And that is for a simple majority. The bill that is in the Senate, interestingly enough, also, I was drilling down the language, would remove the turnout requirement for bonds as well. I don't know if people read in the news recently, but poor Renton got over 60%, but did not reach the 40% quorum requirement, so their bond campaign did not pass. Yes. So that is something that is not as publicized at 40%, but that is a real issue for districts, particularly since our off-year elections tend to be lowered voter turnout. So that's another important bill that has moved out of committee. It is in the Rules Committee that needs to then bring it forward to a vote in the Senate. We should remind our elected officials that that is a priority for us as well. Another priority was to ask the legislature to modify the School Construction Assistance program. For those listening at home, that is when we build schools, the state provides a small amount of funding based on an antiquated system of calculating the square footage that is required to build a school, and then multiplying that by a dollar figure. There's a bill that moved forward through committee that would increase both the assumed square footage that we're building and increase the dollar multiplier, be phased in over time. That also passed with unanimous support out of the committee, suggesting that this is something that has a potential of moving forward.
But I assume that the scale of it would still be a minority of the cost of building, yes?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, okay.
But instead of barely covering, yes, right, instead of basically covering the sales tax that we were paid to the state, it may actually provide some funding for schools. Let's see here. Okay, the last item I want to touch on is there are two comprehensive school safety bills that made it out of committee, one in the House, one in the Senate. They appear to be nearly identical. They both also passed with unanimous support out of both committees. These are a comprehensive school safety bill that provides more funding for schools. Notably, it is titled a non-firearms school safety bill, so they stripped out some of the potentially...
We're not going to arm teachers?
Well, no. So just to be clear for those listening at home, the safety, as it was discussed at WASD and we've discussed before, limiting access to firearms is a safety concern for our schools. That is not a universally held belief throughout the state. So the idea was if we're trying to do a comprehensive bill, this is a comprehensive bill that strips out any sort of firearm regulation. So those bills are going forward. It's looking good. It's another thing that we should be reminding our elected officials about. Okay, so those are the hot button priorities that we have that are moving forward. They are all, interestingly enough, originating from the Senate right now and are in the Rules Committee. So Chris, I will prepare something for you to send it to Senator Cutterer as she lives in your neck of the woods.
Actually, believe it or not, she'll listen to any of us, but if you can just give me the numbers on those, I actually have a fairly good grasp on the issues, so if you can just give me the...
Beautiful.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for anyone? forget?
Seeing none, I think I will say you
Sorry,
have
I
your
forgot
own
one
question.
actually
Go
very
ahead.
important thing that did not happen that it would also be important to remind some of our elected officials about. There is a looming problem that we have with the school employee benefits program. That is, Barbara, it's a what's the dollar figure? I know it's a multi-million-dollar figure that we're going to have to cover. Barbara's coming to the podium. The Jeopardy thing. I don't want to lowball it. I'm worried.
So the state cost, they're estimating the state cost of implementing the SEB program, which is moving all school district employees to state-covered benefits as of January 1st, 2020, is they're estimating $900 million as a cost to the state. They're estimating statewide local costs of, so each school district statewide, $300 million cost. For our district, we're estimating over $5 million of potential local costs, if not more, to implement the SEB. So due to the changes in, again, we hire more employees in the state funds. That's a portion of it. The benefits are go from full-time from part-time. Everybody gets full benefits regardless of hours, and just expansion of coverage. So,
and so our position as district has been we support those benefits, but but it needs to be funded properly by the state.
Fully funded.
Thank you.
So
right now, the only proposal that has been brought forward in the legislature was a bill in the House that would have delayed school district participation in SEB. That did not make it out of committee. Now, because SEB is necessary to implement the budget, that does not mean that that is necessarily dead, but it does suggest that we should be reminding our elected officials of the importance of this issue. So all of our elected officials should know that this is an important issue for our district that, if not fixed, will impact our ability to provide services to students.
And the key is not just funding the state portion. The key is the local portion, because without that funding, it is a huge impact to districts. So.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And there's a lot going on in Olympian with the legislation. It's great to be able to be paying attention to our priorities and how they're working through the system. So is there any additional board follow-up? Any future agenda items? Any board member comments? I have one I would like to add. The Lake Washington Schools Foundation Luncheon is being held on March 28th. The topic for that is social emotional learning, and the keynote speaker is a producer of a film called Angst, which is about the teen mental health and anxiety and sort of that perception there. And so they will be doing a showing of that film at Lake Washington High School at 7 o'clock on March 14th. So if you get the chance to go see it before then, that's an opportunity. They'll also be doing a showing after the luncheon, but that's an opportunity to see it prior. And then you can hear the producer actually speak at the luncheon. So just want to put that forward as something to pay attention to. Any other comments? Nope. Okay. So our next board meeting is March 15th to the 17th. It's the extended study session up in Leavenworth at Sleeping Lady. That is where we'll be reviewing the community engagement information that was given to us from a strategic plan sort of piece, and also issues with policy governance and looking how those all fit to the strategic plan going forward and setting up the work plan for next year. From there, we have our next board meeting will be held March 25th at 5:30. It will start, and then we'll have a study session following that. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director La Liberty and seconded by Director Carlson that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.